say for sure they're not taking our jobs. We were just trying something this morning and it just looked like shit. So clearly, we still have a lot of time.
Namaskar. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Indian Ad Geek. This is episode number 7, and my name is Vishal Mehra. For all our past episodes, we have followed a simple formula: one host, one guest, one conversation. It's been great. It's been clean. It's been insightful as usual, but it's also been predictable. Well, today we are breaking the format. We've gone from a solo act to a stereo experience because our guests today are the two-man army behind one of India's most fiercely independent agencies, Animal. They are the creative duo who've been uncaging some of the most memorable ideas. They've proven that building an agency is a team sport, probably with a lot of heated debates over font choices and color palettes. Kunel, Sayantan, welcome to the Indian Ad Geek.
Likewise, thank you for having us.
Yes. Thank you very much for having us.
This is a first for the show. Triple threat match. So excited to make this happen. How did you guys get your start in advertising? Maybe, Sayantan, we can start with you and then with Kunal.
Actually, it was when I think it was really in the prehistoric ages. I was coming out of like college, and I went to, and me and my friend actually, and we were having these random conversations, random discussions about what we were to do, and we did not want to do too many things. We just wanted to like hang about. So we were thinking like in environmental studies, we'll do it in the hills or something like that. And then my sister made some comment like, hey, maybe you guys should go into advertising and stuff. And my uncle was in it, and then his mom, my friend's mom, actually worked, she was at a PR firm. And like a typical Delhi person, she hooked us up, and she she got us like a couple of like summer internships. So we worked at McCann. And it seemed like a dream job. Like I had grown up with my father being in the government service, and it just seemed so different. And it was just with people, and people, chatting and discussing ideas. It just seemed such an interesting world. And yeah, I was hooked. So he went straight in after college, while I went to masscom, and then I dove right in, and that's how I came to advertising. Kunal, I think Kunal perhaps has a better story than I do.
I hope. I mean, I wanted to be an astronaut, so that was way far from like advertising. But yeah, my I wasn't clear until the longest time what advertising was, and it was the weirdest thing ever because I was aiming for engineering. I gave engineering, so I was like I gave all of the like supposed IRGs and triple ITs and all these exams, and uh, I was aiming for engineering when obviously none of it clicked, and I heard about this institution, some college based in Delhi, which was basically hosting interviews for candidates and students. And they said that it's for advertising and graphic design. And I had not heard of either of them. So I was like, design as in like what? Fashion design? Because there's 1998, right? Like all you know about design is like fashion. So I went and I met them and they told me about this thing called graphic design, and there's like this, and there's like music albums, and there's like people doing it, and there's real humans doing something like that. And I mean I was always like great at art. I had a hand, I had a thing for like just creating things, illustrations, all of those things. So obviously I was naturally inclined towards something creative in that sense, but I didn't know that there was an entire career that could be made out of it. And so when I went for it, I liked what I saw. It was an interesting place, and yeah, I enrolled in it, and it was a course in advertising and graphic design, and that was my first kind of rendezvous with it. But what happened was that when I started my career, the first few years was just graphic design. That was like design as a thing was like my first love. So it was always just design, and we were doing like different kinds of projects for the first 1 or 2 3 years. Advertising as a thing happened for the first time for me professionally when I joined this place called Shop, which was started by like industry stalwarts like Navid Akhtar and Freddie Birdie. and they started it after their last stint at McCann, and I was their first employee. So they started shop, yeah, and it was like a small studio where we would work on different clients. They had relationships with clients they had worked with in the past, like Times of India, and like so. And it was like a hands-on, all hands on deck kind of job. So I was like, I loved it because for me, it was like just learning 400 million things all at the same time. And they were both great, right, at their work. So I learned everything from advertising to even like writing and even like art, for example. Like we would have long conversations about Van Gogh and Warhol and all these other people and things that how they are like used in like advertising and how a particular thing is shot. I even shot campaigns. So I would be like shooting campaigns for Times of India, and like it was a usual day for me to look at like campaigns coming out uh, on outdoors in different cities because Times of India owned most of the outdoors. So it was like the easiest thing ever. Like the campaigns would just come out every 2 weeks, and I got like so much hands-on experience. And that was the first time when I really like got into like proper advertising. There was a thing called outdoors. There was like I was just learning almost every day. So 3.5 years I was working with them. It was just amazing.
There's so many Indian space startups. I would love to see you guys take a go at their visual identity. Hopefully, that will happen soon. Maybe that passion to be an astronaut can take a different shape now.
For
But
sure. Every time ISRO launches something, I'm like, let's do their logo, man. Like, so yeah, it's always a
you guys launched Animal to fill a creative gap. What market need or insight drove your founding vision, and how has that evolved over the past years?
yeah. I mean, Animal was like a return to design for me. After advertising, after spending all those years in global agencies and working on global brands, doing all sorts of advertising work, it was like a shift of perspective. So I wanted to like get back to design because I just felt that that was obviously something that I really loved and enjoyed working on. But other than that, it was just the opportunity, right? Like I wanted to create a place where different kinds of people could all work together because in big agencies there was like an assembly line kind of a setup. You would have art and copy, and then all of the good messy stuff, which is like the good stuff that was like content and production and films and events and all sorts of interesting things, social, digital, like would all be outsourced to multiple partners, and we would essentially be just supervising all of that. And I wanted to control all of those things because I just saw so much opportunity in what could be done with brands versus what was happening. And when unless you have full control, you're not able to essentially fully visualize and execute something that has that scope. So that's what Animal was, and that's why we started this place where our thing was our biggest challenge. Obviously, in the beginning, was to get the right kind of talent on board. But once that happened, it was like a dream come true. Like it's like working on so many different kinds of things and not just creating like ads or not just creating or calling them like design projects, but more like interventions of sorts. Like we would be one day making installations that will be traveling across different cities in India, and another day we'll be creating content that would go on VR headsets and figuring out what headset to work with. There was a thing called Google Cardboard back then, so we would be experimenting with those kind of things. It was just such a amazing environment to be a part of with so many different kinds of people who were all as enthusiastic about those things as you. And that happened. So we started obviously as design studio, which then eventually obviously became like a full service shop where we'll be working on executing all sorts of interesting things from album covers to gig posters to branding projects, events and installations. Collaborative projects happened, activations in store for Adidas. We'll be making animated short films for UNICEF, and again AR and VR led campaigns. We created an entire streetwear line for Budweiser. We made online games during COVID for them, and then so much more. It's just like we just loved tinkering and experimenting with things, and like built even projects like products, tech products of our own during COVID and before COVID. So yeah, that's what it's been, and I think that's somewhere where the evolution lies, and we've just kept on evolving ever since. Every time something new comes in, we just love to jump into it. Like NFTs came in and went, but yeah, because they were interesting, we just kind of went into it and did some stuff and did some projects with some clients, did some curated work on that. So, and now we're working with AI as something that we use in our workflow. So that's how it's evolved over time.
Yeah, I was in fact going to ask you that how you evolved from a design studio in 2013, and you guys have grown into a full service creative agency now and an incubator for tech products like View and Deck. Sayantan, how have you balanced creative independence with commercial growth? How do you figure that out?
Like, I think we've always, and I think it has also like been a bit, yeah, it's not the best perhaps route to take, but we've always tried to really concentrate on the work, on the creative output, with a blind, almost weird faith that if we do that, the finances will also take care of itself. um, and we're still afloat. So it's, it's somehow it's worked out. But that's always been the thought. Like, let's keep putting our best foot forward onto the work, and then hopefully all the other things will also fall into place. And I think since the Kunal has really jumped over all these things. But I think what has also led to it, I think Kunal has an innate love of technology, because I think it's come from his astronaut wannabe days. But it is not a it is not a thing which is just like a can calling card. Hey, let's do technology. It is really a deep love for technology, of physics and stuff, like, that Kunal is really into. And somehow that leads on to different things that the agency somehow almost organically goes towards. So like design, to it felt very organic to launch the product. It felt very organic to go into doing other things, to going to looking at fashion, to looking at this. So it just felt different manifestations of our sensibilities. I think very important for us. I think this word, I think, will be peppered over this conversation. It is sensibilities. It's very important to us. What are the sensibilities that we bring, and how do we manifest that? So finding those different things to manifest that on, that that's what we've always searched for. I think that's what we always try to do, and get it also keeps us getting new avenues, and thankfully enough, new avenues of also like finances. You know what I'm saying? So good thing is you don't stick to one thing as your financial outlet. So it's not just identity, it's not just projects, it's not just advertising. So there are multiple things that we like to bring to the table, and at one point or the other, something or the other is at the fore, which is taking our financial brunt and taking us and pushing us forward. So that has really helped us financially, while we've all gone towards this thing of let's make this product shiny, as beautiful as possible. That's the way we've looked at it.
Fantastic. Both you gentlemen are super talented and super curious. How do you inculcate that same passion in your colleagues, especially the junior ones? Our business thrives on curiosity, and then creativity drives everything else. Do you have any processes for that?
I would love to say that there's and Kunal, maybe that we have a handbook, and they see it and they're like, oh my goodness, this is the way to do it. Step one, step two. But in the most basic thing, the work we do, the clients we get, and also the talent we attract is from the work we put out. So the work we put out attracts the talents that it does, because people see it and say like, hey, I would like to do something like this. And clients look and say, hey, I would like to do something like this. And so it's just the magnet to get those people with those sensibilities, with that curiosity to come. A lot of time it doesn't work out. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't like somehow the what they come through and this thing. But over history, it's not a very long history, but over a period, it's been peppered by those people who've come, who have that innate sense in themselves to be curious and to be like, let's do some crazy shit, let's do some shit, let's be explorative, let's try and figure out things out. And this just felt like a vehicle for them to do it. So it's not that we've created like a place, but if the work speaks to certain people, and then they say like, I see what they're trying to do there, I see the thinking that would have led to it, or the lack process, or what would have led to it, and I appreciate that. and I would like to be a part of that. So I think if many people are attracted to it, then they come and they find their own space and they find their own voice and they find their own place, at this organization, which is Animal. Yeah, Kunal, if you want to add other stuff.
No, I think you've covered it beautifully. My favorite example of something like that is basically the housing project. And that happened, that was our first big scale up. And that just purely happened because of the first small project that we had done at the inception of Animal, which was called Species, where we got 100, almost 100, like 100, artists globally to design our own logo in their own style. It was just a simple ligature called Animal, and they had to just create their favorite animal in that shape. And we did like 100 versions of that. And then Nat Geo Wild sponsored it, we did a show, and that was kind of birth of Animal in a way. Housing saw that and they wanted us to do a campaign using just their logo, which was visualized different ways, and they put it on outdoors because they just had a new logo. And the first campaign they did not, it failed to register the logo because it was just an old school campaign with photography and all of that. So they wanted to do something like, with the logo, and that's what we created. And it was our first big scale up,
It
just
is
looking
still
at.
our largest campaign in terms of it was just plastered all over, I think, the country. Like, Kunal, I think it's still the
Yeah.
biggest thing that we had. Like, it was just everywhere. But yeah, please
Was
go
it
ahead.
was this the successor of the lookup campaign?
Yes, yes, it was.
It had those animations just with the identity, which is just different houses with the illustrations. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it just was.
And it was just, yeah, it
Amazing.
was just such right timing because we were just like, we were 1 year into business, and we were working on smaller projects and, all sorts of interesting stuff with smaller clients. And suddenly this big company was like working with us on this project, and that ended up giving us like a retainer with them, which then we kind of continued working on. So
Guys, before we started recording, we were conversing on my deep appreciation for all the work that you guys continue to do, and um, the Hyatt wedding film. That was, we were discussing that. I'm just curious, how do you embed our country's cultural narratives, our society into a global brand campaign without slipping into stereotypes? That must be tricky and hard.
I think when we look at it, like, and I think one thing that we are always, and I think Kunal would be the first one also, because Kunal keeps talking about his design stuff. Oh, I'm a designer and all these things. Kunal will always speak like this. But Kunal is the first person who will always say, like, let's not do pretty. Let's not just do pretty. Like, it should not just be something for the sake of just design. You know what I'm saying? Just let's not like just pretty things. I don't think excites him as much of like why, what makes it, what is the meat behind it, why is that thought powerful, what makes it interesting. And it cannot be interesting just by being the most beautiful thing, but because it is trying to say something in the context of the time. You know what I'm saying? So what is especially, like, for example, Hyatt, like, what is happening in the industry. I think we're very particular about that. Um, and how we interpret that. I mean, say, like, hey, if this is the trend of everyone speaking about these fetishized weddings, right, from DDLJ to this thing to Karan Johar to everything else, perhaps you should go back to the people who are getting married and go back to them and try and do that. And so the entire campaign became about going, like, shifting the focus back. And then we told a story through Hyatt. So now, again, I think the thing comes about because we again empower people to, like, to bring the thinking also. Like, for example, the person who came up with it, she thought of this thought. So she was like the creative director, thought of this insight of how this thing is working right now, the dichotomy of it. And then everyone came together, and this thing of using height of people to show their complete, how involved they are to give them the best wedding, to show them then replicating that. So so everything comes together, from starts from the strategic decision, from the almost the cultural insight that we find, and then we find the most interesting, visually stunning but interesting way of manifesting it. In that case, it was of course those beautiful people who were like the official people. But That's how we always try and do, so that it's not just a beautiful film. It's something which is felt feels cultural in that moment, and that is why some of our work, we've been lucky enough for some of that work to get translated, not just in India. When, like for example, our Budweiser work, it starts in India. We did the campaign, and then it was translated. Like it was taken in America and in UK. So the thought gets translated the world over. So if that thought feels powerful enough, the world that we're living in right now, because culture is being eaten in exactly the same way. So if that is strong enough, it can easily lead to different places. Kunal, your thoughts?
Yeah. Let me put this to Kunal. Can you walk us through your creative spark process and how do you move from a brand brief to an idea?
Yeah, I think a lot of it starts with just the brief itself, right? The brief itself has enough keywords for us to know that, how far and wide this idea can travel. We don't like to stick to a lot of times the formats that are there. So, let's do a edit, let's do a 30 second, let's do this, let's do that. It's always nice for us to like, and it's I think best works always come out when we've kind of removed all those guardrails at the start of it, at the onset, and just like have a discussion, have like what can we do, what can we call it, instead of let's make an ad, you know and I think some of the best pieces have come out because of that conversation, working closely with the client, in a lot of respect, like most like Hyatt campaign, or like the Bima campaign, or the Budweiser campaign that Samson spoke of. All of these amazing campaigns have come out of like a lot of discussion, not just from the teams internally, but with the client, and their involvement in and getting them on board in terms of what we're going to create and how far and wide we can go. So a lot starts from there, and then we kind of distill it down to like the insights and everything that can kind of fuel that.
I've read that you guys emphasize on work that creates meaning, builds influence, and forges lasting connections. Based on what you just said about constraints, how do you measure and communicate the business impact of such qualitative, culture driving work to the C suite?
Yeah, I think Sayantan would be able to answer this much better because he's kind of been in the kind of numbers and everything, and we've had conversation about it. The work in for us, like the results have always shown in the shape of not just like not kind of quantifying them, but more in the impact that it had. Whether it's like for the clients that have kind of secured a number one position in their category in business over time, or something else. But we've seen the impact kind of happen for each and every client, whether it's like a campaign or even work like social media, where we've kind of managed brands like Cred and worked on years for their kind of build up.
But just to like pick up from what Kunal was saying, like I think um, there is always, like, of course, there is always the champions of our work. Like also said, like I think, like Kunal said, we've worked usually very closely with client partners who become like almost champions of the work, and who've almost taken it almost like their personal mission to then go and have a conversation with the heads and stuff and really push through. And it's not like really from Budweiser to Bhima and all these people, like they've really taken. And because I don't think it is uh, at the prowess of a CEO or someone to have like a perhaps this thing of a bent of like, what are we trying to do with this? You know what I'm saying? Like it's not simple. You know what I'm saying? Um, Work which works in layers is not simple to tell them why it's important to do it like this. So it requires those people with confidence and clout within the organization to really step up and push that work through. And we've had these people uh, wherever we work with in our clients. In terms of what it has done for us, I think once the work has happened, most of the time, and I'm saying that with of course humility and all this side, but like most of the time it has really worked in ways which even the client has not really foreseen. Budweiser became replaced what was it replaced Kingfisher as the most powerful beer brand in the country after the campaign that we did. So Bima became a really one of the most talked about brands in the world. Like it became a worldwide viral phenomenon. The Hyatt campaign became like a like it established the brand and its credentials in the wedding market, in the entire industry, and everyone spoke about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just, I think, of course, publications and all are always nice to say like, hey, these guys have done well, but once people in their industry speaks about, comes to them and tells them, yo, this was really good, or this work, it was discussed in our client meetings as well. Nothing makes marketing and people feel more happy than knowing that all the competitors have spoken about it, are congratulating them, are discussing it, their friends are talking about it. So work and word comes back to them, and I think that really like strengthens their belief in it, and then the numbers really work for them. So like campaigns that we've done like 3 years ago are still running. So all those things really, I don't know, it becomes like almost like a self-fulfilling thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it adds momentum, it goes on and on, with word of mouth, with numbers, with people around. So it just becomes a thing which, and then becomes a powerful thing which you cannot deny, basically. And that's what we try and always.
And the thing with Hyatt work is that the category does not usually see path breaking work. There are certain categories where the quality of communication is, always a certain kind and never surprising or delightful.
I like
But
that how you're speaking, and I'm nodding as if like I'm completely like, yes, the other work is not good, but please go ahead.
Yeah. That film gets all the acclaim because it certainly deserves it. Kudos to you and your client as well for believing in it and running with it. Can you walk us through a recent big client win? What differentiated your pitch in a crowded marketplace that we are all aware of?
I think you should ask this to the clients because I do not know why they come to us, and what is the context of it. We always try and approach it in a way which is that, what is the objectives of it? It should be very clear. It should be very clear between you, the client, and us. What are the objectives of it, and what will be constituted as the victory, as the success markers. Now, once that is done, I think then we try and build a narrative of why, what is the solution for this, and what is the most compelling solution for this, but a solution for this which is not just working in that category, but it should also have a cultural play. Now, a cultural play is something that we really try and push in terms of where will this work sit in culture, in terms of narrative. Now, is it part of this narrative? If it's a new narrative, are we part of this narrative and we really pushing this narrative? Or if it's a narrative which is slightly dated, then can we go against that narrative? Like whatever the whether they're for the narrative, going against the narrative, what is that play in culture which that brand will sit on? And I think we try and make it into a sequence which feels compelling enough. At the end of it, I think there are a number of people in the room, right? And you've got to convince not just the one person, but perhaps the highest person, and they have their own sensibilities and they have their own likes, so they might not like it and stuff. But what we try and do is always try and build a compelling case from the problem identification to what our solution is and why will that solution work, so that at least it feels completely thought through. After that, do they take it or not, it's not a big thing. But one thing I'd like to say is like, some of the biggest tough stuff that we've done actually comes from places like, and it came to us later actually, and Kunal can also attest to it. Like, people have come to us because they were part of meetings before in which we presented, and they were junior enough or they were young enough, so they did not have a voice, you know what I'm saying, but they liked the work that we presented. So there's some management trainee, or this junior account manager, like, brand manager, they had liked it, and they might have said like, "Ha, mujhe acha lagta hai," but they might have been like shushed, and they went with something else. However, they moved on, they moved to other places, and once they came to a little bit of power, their voice mattered more. They remembered, and they got back in touch with us, and they got us back in the room. So we try also, still now, we always try at least making a dent on the junior most people in the room, because we think like, if that person likes the work, our work will be fresh, it will be interesting, it might not win in the room, but it will come back to us. There'll be a return of investment, like you put it. So we'll get that return of investment, maybe not now, but maybe in the future. But yes, that's how we look at it. I hope I answered.
What a beautiful way to see it and say it, really. In our business, pitching agencies face fierce competition. What winning edge do you think Animal brings to the table on new business pitches? We all know about your strong design roots. Do you think that is what attracts potential clients sometimes?
I think one thing we really like to do in pitches is show them the big picture. We don't just say, hey, this is the brief, this is the market, this is what your competition landscape looks like, and this is what we should do. And, this is the number of creatives we should do. Like we tell them how far and wide an idea can travel, how many arms and legs it can have, and with respect to the it coming alive in a set number of ways, here are 45 other ways in which we can look at it. Here's a new piece of technology that can be used, and you could do something with this. Here's this web page that you can create that can take them to give this experience to a set number of people, to show them another side of this particular brief. Like showing them different dimensions in which a particular brief can be broken down, so their minds open up to like possibilities, because we like to do different kinds of things and show them the kind of things that we would like to do with this brand. Because a lot of times what happens is that people working on those brands internally are working in silo. They have a set image of the brand, and they come with that kind of baggage. But when you open it up, they themselves see that, and that's like I said before, a lot of our best ideas have come with conversations with those clients. A lot of them have happened with our discussions on shoots. For example, we're shooting a film, sitting on where the agencies and clients are supposed to hang, and we have conversations in between shots about the five other things we could do with this. And that's where it clicks, and there's always a thing, hey, yeah, let's try this one as well. Can we just include it in the current shoot? And we've done kind of modified our like play as it goes. So that's the kind of working which always gets us the best kind of things coming out.
I think what you're trying to say is sometimes you have to help the client dream, which is a very interesting way to look at it. In recent years, have you guys noticed any changes in the process of getting new clients on board, in terms of what they're looking for or how your approach to pitches, if that has changed?
It is, I would say it's really difficult. I think it's changed, and I think there is, and I don't want to complain or anything about it. Like it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? But there is a short termism in terms of most of the things. It is like, this is my problem, or this is the opportunity. Show me work on this, and then we'll have a conversation. So there is really no time off to say that, hey, let's grow together on this. Like we will have a learning on this. So we will do a campaign, we'll do some work, and then we learn from this, and we'll put those learnings into action in the second campaign. And then we learn some more, and then we'll get better and better as we go along over a period of time. Everything is, show it to me now. It should appeal to me now. It should make sense to me now. And then we get, so there is an immediacy to it. So there is no, so it is a thing of like, bring the best that you can, and then there is no like, and I'm not trying to be like this thing, but like it's the truth. Like it's advertising. We've done it for a number of years. Like we've done for like 20 to 25 years. You know what I'm saying? If there is a conversation to be had over a period of 2 or 3 conversations, I can guarantee you, whatever your sensibilities, we'll be able to work out and figure out what is the way to go, and figure out something that we will both like. However, there is no chance of that conversation happening at most places. You're just going like, there's a thing, I didn't like this, I'd like this one, so let's go ahead with them. You know what I'm saying? So that immediacy, that thing of, show us at this point, show us what that can be. I think that's the biggest change. There is no like, there is a chat like, hey, not this, then we'll come back to you with the next brief, and we'll have another conversation again. But there is no second chance or second this thing. It's just now and then. So that feels very different to actually what we've all grown up with.
Very transactional, and maybe a reflection of the society at large. I mean, we were just talking about how you guys like to play around with new tech and tools, whether that is NFTs or new projects and whatnot. And so much of that is enabled by technology in our life. As more of that becomes commonplace, that culture of immediacy whether that is 10-minute delivery of food and groceries, or next day delivery of campaign thoughts, or a full blown pitch in 4 days. I remember the times when we used to go to the field, interview consumers, and do all that, understand various things before actually sitting down and working on a pitch. Now I have to turn all of that around in 4 days, 5 days a week, because the other folks invited for the same pitch are doing the same thing.
I think you've got to be really strong, at least even mentally, in terms of like it questions like the work that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, if, what kind of work am I supposed to present? Like, if I know there's no possibility of a second conversation, what is the type of work that I take to the person? Should I take the most what I think is the strongest, or do I hedge my bets a bit? Do I so there are all these conversations that are happening, which perhaps creatively is not the best, but like it's the thing that makes you question it again and again. And I think it's also good to also remember the basics of it. You know what I'm saying? Most of these times, I think all the times actually, there are people who approach us for a come and show us their point of view on certain brief, or whatever the thing is, right? So I think we've got to trust also the fact that they've seen something that they've liked, which is why they've come to us, and we should be true to that. But I think it's always a human thing of like, I really want, like, when you want, like, I really want this project and I would love this project. So should I do this? Should I temper this down? So these are all the things which I feel are also things that we deal with. But hopefully, and as much as we can, I think we're all human, but we try and be resist almost like this, taking an easier cut to take work that we still think is powerful enough, true to the brand and to the objective that they're saying, but not to take the easiest route to it, which I think does not work in advertising. Because there's so much of work, there's such a plethora of work out there. If it doesn't stand out, then I think it will sour your relationship in the long run. That it'll never come back. You know.
Yeah, there will be no conversation around it. I remember I used to see work which used to have some sort of cliffhanger or a storytelling, something. I don't see much of that anymore because, like you're saying, I don't know whether I will be back for the next quarter or the next round of work going out, or will there be a second round or not. This overweight behavior on performance marketing is probably weighing all of that down. And that actually leads me to my next question. You guys are so perfect to answer that, actually. Both of you are such strong proponents of technology and have used it so well in various campaigns. So enlighten me, enlighten all of us. What's going on with AI? Are they coming for our jobs? Are we about to become their slaves?
I'll
Yeah,
let
I think
yeah, Grain as a master has done a philosophy major in this. But yeah, please go ahead.
I'm not, but yeah, I'm not, but uh, I mean, I can say for sure they're not taking our jobs. We were just trying something this morning and it just looked like shit. So clearly, we still have a lot of time. Tools from like images to like video to audio to like, yeah, the works. And it really, I mean, it's only, I think, a matter of time before a lot of it will become automated as it goes. A lot of it will become agentic as we go in the next couple of years. But I'm confident that there will always be a human at the center of it, uh, in terms of where the sensibility goes, where someone whose taste matters in this whole thing.
But Kunal, where do we draw the line? How far are we from the time when AI develops that taste, develops that emotion? It knows when to start, but I feel when to stop is still in the works, at least in the technology which has been made public so far.
I think more important than that would be that will taste matter in the time to come, because a lot of times if you see, like, Meta is already working right now on producing a platform that would enable brands to just upload a logo and all of the performance, because performance eventually at the end of the day is all that matters for in terms of sales, right, perspective. Meta is building a platform that would essentially automate that entire pipeline just by including your logo, select your packages and just run with it. And that's what the platform's going to be. Images are going to be generated, videos are going to be generated, writing, copy, everything. The whole works will just kind of be automated and be targeted and presented to customers. The sales pipeline will take care of the rest, and everything will just be automated. So, in that entire conversation, does taste even matter? Is the larger piece of the conversation. And we frankly don't have an answer to that because we'll only see as it comes. I do hope and feel that carefully crafted and curated experiences, brand experiences, and things like those will still matter. There will still be space for it. The scale of which, at what scale, I don't know, because we'll never see something like the 2014 version of where Nike ads will kind of go viral on in every can showcase, and everyone be looking at it as with a piece of awe on their face and all that. So I don't think we're gonna see that happen again for a long time. But
No,
sorry to burst your bubble, but yeah.
Sayantan, consumers will be able to see and identify lazy marketing, right? We will know if that is a lazy piece of work.
maybe it's like what I think I really like agree with Kunal is I don't think first like we are not engineers. You know what I'm saying? Like of course Kunal has an incredible bent of towards this thing, but I do not know if you'll have to ask a technologist who would really find out. We will actually have to experience it as we go along, and maybe it really turns out to be that they have taste, they know when to stop, when to start, everything, and everything becomes like defunct. I don't know, but the thing is, I do believe what will happen is a lot of in the middle section of the work, which is the work that Kunal also spoke about, the which is the sales led work, might become like completely automated and out in terms of and relegated to just AI. It might become, and for a lot of people, it makes a lot of sense. However, the work in which there is thought, in which brands are still built, because the important the brands will still be important. Now, will that be able to generate brands? Will that be able to? I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I hope, like Kunal said, I hope there is a place for storytelling, for brand building, and a human touch to storytelling, which cannot be replicated. I hope so. Matlab,
I hope
that's
so as well. I
yeah.
mean, but have you seen the latest model, latest
Yes,
latest
yes. Kunal throws
take
back
on
the latest model of yes. I've not seen the
and
latest
what it
model.
can
I've blocked it.
produce?
But go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's only a matter of time before, I mean, famous last words, but yeah, hopefully, that stays. Taste still matters. In an ideal world. I don't see that happening for a very long time, but yeah, we'll only
But
see.
basically we don't know, and
Yeah,
it might be that it doesn't, and but we'll figure it out as we go along
yeah.
in what happens.
All right. You guys have pioneered so much of new stuff together. We were talking about NFTs, gaming, etc. If you look few years down the line, beyond traditional media, how are you structuring your work? How is Animal looking at the next, say, 12 to 24 months? Beyond the usual traditional media, anything else you guys are looking at?
I think we have grand plans for every, like I think something which has always interested us is trying to find manifestations, newer and newer manifestations of what animal sensibilities are. Now it has led us to do even like lines of clothing or streetwear which has been sold out on Myntra and stuff like that. But does would that lead like so the possibilities of it are quite endless. Like we can become a, we can start products which we are really interested. We've got history with that. We've launched products before. We've always explored it. We are even now exploring products. We would like to launch products. We would like to launch, I don't know, do certain amount of like long format filmmaking, or do like come with a style, a line of clothes, a line of things. I don't know, like, but there are. I think it's very open in this world with AI and stuff to be as malleable as possible, but to be as flexible and be open, and to really understand what really differentiates you is a thinking and a point of view and a sensibility, and try and finding an a manifestation of it which does not is not restricted to one medium. I think we don't want to be restricted to one medium. We have to find different forms of mediums, different newer mediums, newer places. And if we can get that, and if we experiment enough, we are hoping that we'll find newer places to do it. But just to answer your question, we are experimenting constantly to do that, and hopefully certain things happen that yeah that always keeps that ethos of animal like expanding and taking on new forms. Kunal, thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think you've covered it. Other than this, it's only the the natural progression of where we see a version of animal which could more natively work with AI, something that has workflows defined and is a little more agentic in its in the way it works. And I'm excited to see where that goes. And that will only be a function of how successful AI is as it goes, because currently there are still challenges. You can get images, videos are still a challenge. There's some thinking that's still a challenge. Those kind of things are still underway, but I'm confident in the next 1 or 2 years that will also kind of be in place, and there will be space for us to experiment in the way that we can scale our sensibility to a wider audience, to a wider number of clients, and uh, prepare a workflow where all of that can happen seamlessly. So that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's from an agency point of view. But Kunal, if you look at it from a consumer point of view, do you see any changes agencies will have to adapt looking at shifts in consumer behavior? For example, Q commerce is suddenly such an integral part of life, especially in urban India.
Not really. I mean, not a lot, mainly because we've not come across such a challenge yet. And maybe when we do, we will know. But uh, from what I hear, I don't know, it's just all sorts of discussion. But a lot of people also say that social media is going to be irrelevant in another 2 or 3 years, right? If not before. And it's going to be an open kind of a, I don't know what that looks like.
Maybe
It's
it'll
hard
take a
to
different shape, maybe a
exactly.
different user interface. Maybe it'll be just right here, everything,
I
right?
mean, they
It
also
won't
say
be
that
here.
user interface, even user interface will be useless, and not be, because right now we've already got workflows where UI it just creates itself as the need goes, as it again, like Comet does that, Perplexity's new product, and they do it really well. So any like an agentic version of that would essentially not even include like a lot of the design elements that we call commonplace. Like you open an app, there's UI in place. There will just be an agent, and everything will just be created on the go, and it will dissipate once the function is over. So everything will become so organic and so like fluid and seamless that platforms, will they even matter? Like, will a particular platform where a brand is addressing itself matter, or will it only be distribution channels targeting different users, and just kind of commerce taking over the rest? We don't know. We've not had such a challenge yet, so we'll only see as it comes.
Sayantan, how do you balance your time between client pitches, creative reviews, and people development? Do you have any rituals to keep you grounded, amidst all the daily firefighting all of us have to do?
I have a terrible social media habit, which is ever increasing. So I think which the weekly habits, the viewing habits, which is like a which it always scares me to look at whenever I get that of like you're watching 6 hours of social media a day. I don't know. I in terms of habits, I have only terrible habits. I have only I've watched too many reels. I've watched too many things. People say like perhaps stay away from creative or like look more management. I still, both of us, we still like to get into the creatives of it, have conversations of it, like not try and like keep ourselves like distracted to just overall seeing of the work and stuff. Um i like as you grow, it just feels that the things that are important to you, all you always make time for, and that's what keeps you in love with with what you do. I think there is a biggest there's a biggest drain in advertising, sees the biggest drain of people in the world, I'm saying, because, and I've thought about this, why, because I think as you grow older and older, you get more and more distance from the things that you really love, which is actually thinking and this, and you get more into like client talking and chatting and doing bullshit. I'm saying, like all that stuff, which isn't fun, which isn't what. So then you try and become like, hey, a writer. You write a blog or you write these things, and you try and get your kicks from there. What I'm saying, rather than from the work or something like that. So I feel there is a huge thing of what being an animal really does is it keeps you connected and still connect. I don't think we've ever turned people off advertising or marketing from animal. Like, I don't think anyone's been at animal and been like, damn, I hate this business, and then moved on. What I'm saying? Like, if they've loved the thing, they've only grown with that love of it. So I think it keeps you close to what you love, and I've tried to keep close to it, because I think if I move away too much, if I start doing other things, if I try and keep distance from it to try and make more time for myself, I will end up only like um, killing what really I love doing about the stuff, which is actually thinking about the work, or like discussing work, like with Kunela and with other people in the room, or like with my colleagues, and just talking about what shows and stuff, and why does that work and why does this work. So those things are the things that really, those conversations are the things that really keep me happy and alive, and in connected to also the what is happening in this world, and what people are thinking, and what how what funny is funny right now, and what this, so all the nuances of things, I think it gets connected to, and I think those things are really important to me, and I've tried to keep that as, and hope to keep doing that, so I don't start hating my goddamn life. That's what I think.
What advice would you give to other independent agencies looking to scale up?
Be careful and be ready for a tough time also. What I'm saying, like, it's not a place for the faint hearted, where you're really tested in terms of what you believe in, what you think is right, what you think is wrong. Everything is tested. And I don't want to make, like, of course everyone is tested in like life stuff, and you always come with choices and all these things, but especially now, it is a hard business. And even in the work, like, I think maybe from outside it looks like, oh, it's like we are just trying to do, like, we're just like arty farty people are just like drawing some pretty pictures and just putting these things out. It is a tough business, which, and you got to make a very compelling case for everything to be approved in every stage, and you have to work with everyone at the table, because there's no one who's now not willing to let their voices be heard. So you have to work with everyone at the table to convince them, to convince that, so your argument, your point of view has to be compelling enough to convince everyone there. So come at it with love, with great respect, and not expecting it to be an easy ride or something. And I don't think people who are starting out right now are thinking of it to of expecting it to be an easy ride. But I just want to double down on, like, it is not, but it is an incredible place and an industry for your mind to be always be connected to things, to always be thinking of things, like, uh, of culture and things, and what is the place of this, and why is this working, and why is that working, and what is making this film click, and all these things. So it is an incredibly enriching place where you're always connected to, if you do it the right way, or if you're really connected to it. But don't expect an easy ride when you just make some, if you're a writer, some wordplays, if you're an art director, some easy things on AI, and just try and do some puns and stuff, and try and get by with it. It is not, it is, you've got to convince clients that your solution makes business sense. And the the easiest thing to convince, like, I think we forget, and we think the easiest way to convince them that it makes business sense is to make a give a very strong CTA and put the logo on top and all these things. But it's not, you know what I'm saying? It is, why will this piece of work not be ignored? That is the most fundamental thing. Why will this piece of work not be part of the of the surrounding? Why will it stand out?
Yeah.
So if you're able to do that, if you're able to sell that, if you're willing to put that R into to that, to make that thing and to really push that across, I think it's an incredible place. It's still an incredible industry. It's a place to really build, and it's a great time to build it, because I think there are a lot of things which are not great, you know. So I think it's a great time to have your voice, to which stands out in the crowd. But it's a tough crowd to make it work. But yeah, that's what I would say.
And finally, Kunal, what advice would you give to India's next generation of ad geeks who aspire to join our business, who want to join advertising?
Yeah, for me, it just comes down to one word, curiosity. I mean, that's what's driven me for the longest time. And I would say stay curious. That's where it all starts. And keep experimenting, tinkering, breaking and fixing it. You'll eventually start loving it. And when that is part of who you are, it all kind of falls in place simply because you're iterating faster as part of your process. So, in order of magnitude, you're already ahead of the curve. So, for me, like that curiosity is where it all starts and just scales automatically.
Fantastic. Guys, I cannot thank both of you enough. What a terrific conversation. I didn't expect it to go so smooth, considering my lack of experience in moderating a three-way.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank you so
Likewise.
much. Uh, ho- Hopefully, we didn't keep you away from your pitch for too long. So please go ahead.
No. I'm gonna go back to it, and this has been completely worth it. So thank you.
We really appreciate it. Thank you
Thanks a
very
lot.
much.
Speak
Bye bye.
soon.
My mind is thoroughly expanded thanks to an absolute masterclass by Kunel and Sayantan. Thank you guys for sharing your journey with such honesty and wit. For everyone listening, if you want to see the incredible work they are doing on a daily basis, go to their website and your creative brain will thank you. Next Sunday, it will be the turn of the Indian Av Geek, episode number 49. And the founder of Airline Weekly, Jay Shabbat, who's now with Skift, joins me to discuss the business of skies. If you have enjoyed this episode, do not forget to hit subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might enjoy it. The Indian Ad Geek streams on all major podcast apps. On X, Kunel is at Kunel Gaur, Sayantan isn't so active, and I am at Vishal Mehra. Until next time, keep your creative antennas tuned and your ad geek flag flying high. Stay quirky, stay curious, and keep geeking out.